How's it going, everybody? We good? That's nice. You guys clap as I walked up. It's always awkward to walk across the stage to silence, so I appreciate that. This is a family setting. So I'm really honored to be here, first of all, and I'll just speak for a few minutes at the top. Um, Here's what I'll say. It's been 7 years. I've been with the president since the beginning. How many have been here 7 years? Raise your hand if 7 years. How many longer than 7 years have you been in the federal government? Yeah, there we go. See, I complain about 7 years. People up there like, that's adorable. Um, but I hope you agree. It's been a full 7 years, and we have gotten a lot of work done together. We've come a long way, and a lot of it's because of you. So the first thing I want to do is just on behalf of President Obama, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, everyone at the White House, I want to thank you for everything that you've done up to this point, and also to thank you for the very, very full year we have ahead of us as well. I'm seeing some people nodding with smiles. Other people were like, oh, I knew it. So, sorry. So what they usually ask me to do at an event like this is read off a bunch of statistics about the path we've traveled and the advances we've made. But I'm not going to do that. Things like more Americans are working. We've created over 14 million new jobs. I'm not going to tell you things like that today. More Americans have health care. Nearly 18 million Americans have gained coverage through the Affordable Care Act. But you already know that. More of our children are learning. Early childhood education has grown. High school dropout rates are at historic lows, and graduation rates are at historic highs. But again, that's not for today. So what I'll tell you is this. The president never, ever, ever, ever ends a meeting without talking about the fourth quarter these days. Now, he's a Chicago Bulls fan, and we hear a lot about Michael Jordan and his performance in the fourth quarter. Anytime people feel tired or start talking about how, run down things, people feel as we reach the end of this administration, he wants to talk to us more about Michael Jordan scoring 50 points with the flu. He wants to talk about how special things happen in the fourth quarter. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. We need to reform our criminal justice system. In our communities, our courtrooms, and our cell blocks. We need to protect American families and communities from gun violence, am I right? Gun violence, I know this is something you work on a lot. And we need to honor the promise of opportunity that we make to our children, whether it's in the classroom or the workplace, or in the message we send to our kids every day, that they matter to us and that every child is our child. And as no one knows better than you, we need to ensure that the lives we lead and the dreams we have start with strong, secure, safe, and fertile homes, places for our babies to grow. When I think about how far we've come, I think about my own mother. Okay, I'll paint the picture when I think of home. When I think of HUD, people think of housing, people think of the policy, but you guys work in the business of homes, am I right? What feels like home? I think of my own mother, coming home from work after a long day and falling asleep on the couch in her work clothes. Okay, that's home to me. That's what it feels like to me, and it's both a memory that I'm proud of and one that makes me sad. And it's one that makes me want to come to work early. I know a lot of you feel the same. It makes me want to come to work early and make sure that more people who are working those hard jobs and those hard lives have a chance to give their kids the chance to stand at a podium like this one day, or to live a life that allows them to not fall asleep in their work clothes, but put their babies to bed every single night. So before I turn things over to your fearless leader, the secretary, I have officially cheated today. I've asked that we play a special moment from last week that occurred at the White House that for me and probably many of you, if you've seen it, has made this country, this administration, and certainly the White House feel a little bit more like home than ever before. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Virginia Mclaurin.
Virginia Mclaurin?
Hey!
How are you?
I'm fine.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
It's an honor.
You want to say hi to Michelle?
Yes!
Slow down now. I don't know what you wish. She's 106.
No, you are not. You are not.
Oh, you slow down.
Oh my goodness. You are not. I want to be like you when I grow up.
She's dancing. Come on.
Oh my goodness.
So what's the secret
We're gonna get you in the
to
middle.
still dancing at 106?
Yup. Just keep moving. Yeah.
Come on.
We're so happy to have you here. And look at those nails. Ooh.
Nails are all done.
Those nails.
Yes, sir. I thought I would never live to get in the White House.
Well,
You
are
are
right
here.
here.
And I tell you,
You
Well,
are
I am
here.
so happy.
We are happy to have you.
Unlike President.
Then look at him.
Yay!
Right there.
Like White.
That's me.
Yes. And I'm here to celebrate Black history.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm here.
That's
Well, we're glad
right.
to have you here.
Yeah.
You have just made our day. You know that? That energy, man.
You made my day.
Okay.
Come on, baby.
I said,
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Secretary, Mr. Julian Castro.
All right. Hey, y'all. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank Jesse Moore for being here and for his important work every day on behalf of the White House. And, I know that it's an impossible act to follow Virginia Mclaurin, but I'm happy to be here to help us celebrate Black History Month. I want to thank you for joining us and for all of the great work that y'all do. I just left a gathering at Howard University and heard a little bit about the history of Howard and its involvement over the years with HUD and the impact that it has made, particularly in Washington, D.C., and the importance of historically Black colleges and universities. It's a reminder of the kind of relationship that HUD over the years has had with the African American community that has been rooted in the employees of HUD, whether here at headquarters or in communities throughout the United States. So thank all of you for that. We all know that African Americans have played a crucial role in the story of American progress. Just consider all of the remarkable events of today in history, February 25th. Exactly 146 years ago, Hiram Revels of Mississippi was sworn in as the first African American senator and representative in Congress, 146 years ago today. In 1948, a 19-year-old Morehouse student named Martin Luther King Jr. was ordained as a minister at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. And on this date in 1964, a young upstart named Cassius Clay defeated Sonny Liston to become the heavyweight champion of the world after telling everybody that he was going to do it. Incredible moments like these and so many others in the development of the law, in policy and politics, in sports and entertainment, and the everyday heroes that are out there are the reasons that we mark and celebrate Black History Month. But I also know that we approach this year with a mixture of joy and sadness in the administration, since it's our last Black History Month with Barack and Michelle Obama as our President and First Lady. I was telling some folks just a little while ago that 2 weeks ago we were at the National Prayer Breakfast, and before President Obama got up to speak, the gentleman that was introducing him said something that I think a lot of folks are saying these days, which is that this will be the last time that President Obama addresses this group. He's kind of doing this farewell tour, in a sense. But as he spoke, it really struck me how much we're going to miss him. I'm going to miss him, and I know the nation is going to miss him. Not just because of the craziness out there in the campaign and the integrity and dignity that he has brought to the office and the progress that we've made as a nation, but really because the Obamas have brought tremendous pride to Americans of all backgrounds. And they have shown us how it ought to be done as a family, as public servants. Yet one look at the clip of Virginia Mclaurin shows us just how much they've meant, particularly to the African American community. Ms. Mclaurin's story proves that history isn't found only in textbooks or in headlines. It's also found in the memories and the very real experiences of the people who walk all around us. Think about all that she's seen in her lifetime. Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball in 1947. The triumph of the Civil Rights Movement. The Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act. The appointment of Robert Weaver, the first African American cabinet secretary here at HUD. The rise of Oprah Winfrey as the first black female billionaire, and more success stories in different industries. And just a few days ago, as you saw, she had the chance to dance with America's first black president and first lady. Now, Ms. Mclaurin has been much more than a spectator to history herself. And this is the interesting part, and I think instructive part for all of us. For the past few decades, she spent 40 hours a week volunteering in the DC area as a foster grandparent and as a mentor to students with special needs. Now, she's 106 now, so I imagine she's slowed down in recent years. Although you wouldn't be able to tell that by that video, because she has more energy than most of us. But her commitment to service and her dedication to her community embody the greatest values that we celebrate as we celebrate Black History Month. And it's a great reminder that her compassionate spirit lives in so many folks of different backgrounds and different races. I'm so proud that HUD is one of the most diverse agencies in the federal government. African Americans represent nearly 40% of HUD's workforce, and that includes key leadership roles. In fact, 1/3 of HUD's permanent senior level positions are held by black men and women. Together, we've expanded opportunity over the years for the African American community, and that is something to be very proud of. In fact, nearly half of all African American households that have purchased or refinanced their homes since 2008 have received support from the FHA. And I want to thank each of you for all of your hard work and all that you've done to help accomplish this part of progress. And yet we know that recent events in places like Ferguson and Baltimore point out to us that our mission is far from finished. Too many Americans believe that their futures are limited by the color of their skin or by the zip code that they're born in. And unfortunately, too often it's not just their belief, it's actuality, and we need to change it. And it's HUD's responsibility to help address the profound inequality that still exists in the United States. As you know, that was a driving force of why we introduced the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Rule, which is going to help combat housing segregation in our country and ensure that local governments applied tax dollars toward improving housing, transportation, and economic opportunity for everyone within their community. We also know that too many African American households fall on the wrong side of the digital divide and lack the tools that they need to compete in the 21st century global economy. And that's one of the reasons that we launched Connect Home, to ensure that communities of color, communities of modest means out there, folks living in public housing, have the tools that they need to truly prosper, particularly internet access and the knowledge of how to use it effectively. This is also why we introduced the SEED initiative to provide 8,000 young people in public housing with training in science, math, and technology. Now, we see today in Silicon Valley a penetrating conversation that is happening about the lack of diversity in companies, whether it's at Facebook or Twitter or a number of others. And we know that there are legions of young folks out there, African American boys and girls, who have the same brains and the same talent and the same potential and ability as everybody else if they just have the same chance if they're invested in. It's also why our proposed budget for fiscal year 2017 reaffirms our commitment to revitalizing underserved neighborhoods. This is really the bread and butter of what we do at HUD. We've requested $2.9 billion for our Community Development Block Grant Program to continue to invest in infrastructure, to rehabilitate housing, and to create jobs for families of modest means. And we've also asked for $200 million to help our Choice Neighborhood Initiative transform areas with distressed housing and concentrated poverty by improving public safety, improving local schools, and so much more that folks need to succeed. So going forward, we know that the road ahead will not be easy. Many of the issues that we need to tackle are deeply rooted in our society. Oftentimes, they're the byproduct of too many years of prejudice and of neglect. But if we ever feel discouraged by the obstacles in our path, we can find strength in the example of those who came before us, those who we celebrate this month and really keep in our hearts and our minds every day. Generations of African Americans have fought to expand liberty in the United States, to expand equality and opportunity for their communities. And I've had the profound privilege during my time as secretary of visiting many of the places where the victories of this struggle were won. Places like the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, where President Obama spoke to the great progress that we've made since that march over the bridge 50 years ago, and yet the fact that the struggle continues. It includes Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, where Dr. King launched a movement that would eventually reach through every corner of America and through the world. Places that are sacred ground in the ongoing fight for equality. Places where the spirit of courage and of sacrifice held by the men and women who walked their streets remain in the air, even to this day. And they teach us lessons in 2016 and in the years to come. The African American community has helped win greater freedom and opportunity for every person who lives in our nation. I know this well as a child of an activist in the Chicano movement, the Mexican American civil rights movement that followed the African American civil rights movement and was so benefited by it. I consider myself a beneficiary of so many of the people that we celebrate this month. So it's with great pride that I join everyone in marking and celebrating Black History Month here at HUD. It's a time to reaffirm the basic fundamental truths, values that touch upon our very essence as Americans, that Black history matters, Black culture matters, and despite what some folks may say, Black lives matter in our country in 2016 and going forward. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Occupying the last available space on the National Mall, the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture will be situated prominently between the National Museum of American History and the Washington Monument. When it opens on August 24, 2016, the museum will be a centerpiece venue for ceremonies and performances, as well as a primary exhibition space for African American art, history, and culture. The primary idea for the museum was derived from the classic tripartite column with its base, shaft, and capital. In Yoruban art and architecture, the column or wooden post was usually crafted with a capital resembling a crown. This crown, or corona form, is the central idea which has driven the design of the museum. The bronze corona also reflects an African American presence that is a permanent part of the American landscape. Reaching towards the sky, the bronze-clad corona expresses faith, hope, and resiliency. As visitors move through the exhibitions, important points in the city are highlighted by a series of openings which frame specific views. These openings, or lenses, offer respite and pause at selected moments along the exhibition experience. These framed perspectives are a reminder that the museum presents a view of America through the lens of African American history and culture. While the specific stories of persecution and struggle, resiliency, and triumph are presented in the museum's exhibitions, the building itself stands as a powerful testament to the centrality and relevance of African American culture and history.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you at the new home for African American history and culture in September 2016. Thank you.